What's up, guys? The Birdman here. Going to make a video today in response of Glenn Beck's uh, November 29th, 2022. Was Glenn's dream actually a vision for our future video on YouTube? In his video, Glenn Beck described a period of time in his life where he wasn't able to reach REM sleep and have dreams. I've also experienced this in my life where I went years and years without having dreams due to nicotine withdrawal while I was sleeping. There were times, and also alcohol. Alcohol will also keep you from reaching REM sleep. But through the years, I found that if the circumstances were right for me to have a dream, that they would be very vivid. If for some reason I didn't drink so much that day, and maybe I fell asleep with tobacco in my mouth, I would have super vivid dreams, almost like they'd built up over the years. And when I was finally able to dream, they would just burst out and be ridiculously vivid dreams. And they would only happen once in a while. It took me years and years to realize that it was the nicotine withdrawal and the alcohol that was keeping me from having REM sleep and having dreams. I don't know how much time went by that I didn't even realize that I wasn't dreaming. But eventually I did realize that I wasn't dreaming because of the nicotine withdrawal and alcohol. But there were times, like I was saying earlier, where I would unknowingly fall asleep with tobacco in my mouth or not consume so much alcohol that I couldn't reach REM sleep, and when I did, the dreams would be very vivid. Glenn's dream and one of the dreams I had were very similar. I'm just going to tell you the dream that I had. I was in the military for 25 years, and I have dreamed about military things. I wouldn't categorize this as a military dream, but because I was in the military, it has military themes. Me and another soldier that I do not know are walking through a wilderness. That's where the dream starts out. We're walking through a wilderness. I don't know where we're going. I'm just following him, assuming that he knows where he's going and that I'm with him. I didn't realize I was dreaming. I just went with it in the dream. I'm with him. He knows where he's going. And we're walking through this wilderness. There's no trail. There's no road. We come up to a clearing in the wilderness, and in this clearing there's a house. And this house is like a modern type 1980s block house that could be in any neighborhood from the 1980s. There was no driveway going to this house. There was no trail going to this house, and the house looked empty. There were leaves on the porch, tree branches on the roof. Remember, this is a very vivid dream. No lights on. It didn't look like anybody lived there. There were no vehicles in the yard. There were no trails in the yard. No signs of habitation. And the guy I was with, who I didn't know, we were both wearing military battle fatigues. And we walked in up to the house, and he opened the front door. And I'm with him, so I went in. And when we walked through the front door, I don't know if you've ever seen a CQ office or CQ desk in an army barracks. All the barracks are a lot nicer now than when I was a young man in the army, but you would see, when you went into the CQ area, you would see like an old 1970s, early 80s metal desk with the laminate stuff on top, the metal drawers, and that was what was in this dream. There was a desk sitting as you walked in the front door. There was a desk straight in front of you. There were two soldiers there, but these soldiers weren't wearing United States Army uniforms. These soldiers, to me, looked like they were wearing like 60s era Cuban communist uniforms. they had the Cuban looking soft caps, OD green, and the uniforms were OD green as well. So sitting at this CQ style desk, you know, with the old phone with the cord on it, sitting on the desk. Behind it, on the block walls, they're painted white. There were billboards with, you know, standard memorandum type stuff that would be in any Army CQ area. These soldiers were sitting there. One of them was leaned back in his one of the old metal rolly chairs with his feet up on the desk, and the other one was just sitting in a chair. And they said something to the effect that we've been waiting for you. We've been expecting you to arrive. During this dream, anything that was said was almost poetic, with the use of just a very few words. A lot of thoughts and a lot of ideas and a lot of feelings were conveyed. I can only explain this by the word choice they used, the facial expressions and body gestures. I don't remember the exact terminology sometimes that was used, but they said something to the effect that we've been awaiting your arrival. And I was surprised that anybody was even in there, and even more surprised that they were waiting for me, because I didn't even know I was going there. One of the soldiers says to the door to the left, and let me explain this room. When you walk in through the front door of this house, there's a CQ office area, and there's only a door to the left and a door to the right and a door behind me that we entered through. That's all you could see, was like a square room with a CQ desk right in front of the front door with the billboards behind it, door to the left, door to the right. The soldier that was sitting with his feet on the desk said, go to the door to your left, go in and make a right and go down the hallway. So we opened that door. Up to this point, I'm not afraid, I'm just a little confused. The guy I'm with opens the door, and we walk in and shut the door, and we walk in and we walk straight, and then the hallway makes a right because the building ends. When we make the right, there are billboards down the left side of the wall, and on these billboards aren't memos, they're body parts, like a forearm, just the forearm from the elbow to the wrist, zip tied to the billboards, and different body parts, like a foot, a hand zip tied to it. There weren't any memos, it was just body parts zip tied, and there might have been like a little something written under it, but I mean, I didn't read any of it. But that freaked me out immediately, because each one of these billboards, there's probably 3 or 4 of them lining that left side of that hallway with just body parts on it. On the right side of the hall, as we're walking down, we're coming to doors that are on the right. As we come up to these doors, you can hear sounds of like power tools, like drills or saws going on inside this room. You couldn't see, the door was closed. I don't know if you can smell in dreams, but I felt like I was smelling burnt hair as I would pass by some of these doors, and because smoke was coming out from under the door. You could hear people screaming inside those doors, and see light flickering on the floor from under the crack of the door. There was probably 4 or 5 of those doors on the right side of the hallway. I'm freaked out now. I'm scared, really fucking scared, walking down this hallway. It went from I'm confused to this is fucking bad. I don't want to go forward, but I don't know what the fuck I'm doing there. I'm with this dude. Obviously he knows what we're doing. So I just continue to walk, but I'm scared. We get to the end of the hallway, and there's a couple of the soldiers there that are wearing the Cuban type uniforms with the communist style soft cap, and they look at the guy that I'm with and say, I'm going to ask you a series of questions, and if you lie, we're going to know it, and you're going to regret it if you lie to us. That may not be, that's not the exact way they said it. The way they said it was poetic and conveyed a lot of feeling, it implied a lot more than that in the dream, and it frightened me when they said it. they take him and they put like a noose, not like a noose like you'd actually hang somebody from, but like a slip knot on his neck. And they take it and real methodically, real calm, and this guy lets them do it, puts his hands behind his back and start tying his hands up behind his back, connecting the noose to their hands. That's I don't know if it's legal, but that's a way that you sometimes tie up prisoners of war to keep them uncomfortable. You have their hands up behind their back like this, and you have it hooked to a noose around a slip knot around their neck, and if they bring their arms down, it'll choke them. So they have to be uncomfortable and keep their arms high up on their back. That's how they were tying him. And he was letting them tie him up this way, and I was just standing there. And at this point, I'm so fucking scared that I'm like, maybe if I don't move, they won't see me, or I won't draw attention to myself, which was silly because they were standing right beside me, but that's how fucking scared I was. So I was just holding as still as I could and trying not to draw any attention to myself. They finished tying his hands behind his back, and then they tied his feet up and then tied his feet to his hands. So now his neck with a noose is tied to his hands. He's on his knees and his feet are tied to his hands like he's hog-tied, but with a choker on. While that's happening, a man walks down. You know, we came down this way, it ends, that's where the soldiers met us. A man came this way down from the hallway that was to our right, at the end of the first hallway we were on. This man wasn't wearing a military uniform. This man he had hair, this might sound silly, he had hair like in ringlets, like a pirate would, like a French pirate back in the day would have, big ringlets of black hair. He had hair like that. And he had a top hat on, a jet black top hat, and it had a band just above the brim, and in the front of it was a metal pentagraph with like a goat head embossed in it, some other satanic looking shit around this 5-pointed star with the goat head, and he had on a jacket with pinstripes like a gangster would wear back in the days, like, I don't know, like the 20s. Pinstripes, like a dark blackish gray suit with lighter gray pinstripes, and he had purple pants on. And he walks up to me and he looks at me, kind of like this expression, like he's been doing this all day, and he says, "I'm not going to have any trouble out of you, am I?" And I said, "No, sir." And I don't know if in my real life I've ever meant something as much as I meant what I said when I said, "No, sir. You ain't going to have no fucking trouble out of me." You know, that part was unspoken, but I said, "No, sir." So it says, he takes my hands and he ties my hands up. He doesn't put a noose around my neck, and he doesn't hog tie me. He just ties my hands in front, and he leads me into a room. Takes me away from this other soldier that I didn't know. He brings me into one of the rooms down the second hallway that we hadn't been down yet. So the kid who got hogtied was at the corner, and the man with the top hat takes me to the right. I don't know if it was the first room, but he takes me into another room that's on the right in that hallway. In that room, looks like a doctor's office, but there's power tools and stuff laying around, and there's chains hanging from the ceiling. And I'm so fucking scared right now. Like, I don't know if I've ever been that scared in my real life or not. I was terrified. There was scale. It was tiled. The floor was tiled. There was like stainless steel cabinets. It just looked like a doctor's office, but there was weird shit like power tools and chains and stuff hanging from the ceiling. In the middle of this room, though, there was a metal box with the top open, and he says, "Get in." So I go over and I get into the box, and he puts his hand on my head and pushes me down to where I'm squatting down in this box. And he puts a lid on the box, and it's a metal lid. and in the metal lid there's holes. And then he starts filling the box full of water. And eventually the box gets so full of water that I have to go up to the top of the box and put my mouth to the holes to breathe. I don't know how long that went on, but at some point I go up to get a breath of air because it's very uncomfortable to stay in the position to breathe. So you kind of go up to the top of the box and take a breath, and then go back down and just kind of blow bubbles and hold your breath for a minute, and then go back up and get another breath. I went up and got a breath of air, and above me, hanging from the ceiling, from his hands and feet hogtied, with blood coming out of his mouth, is a soldier that I walked into that place with. And I was pretty sure he was dead, but he was just hanging about a foot and a half. Like his face was leaned down from where his hands and feet, where he was hanging from his hands and his feet where they were tied together, and his neck was still in the noose, but he was angled down and blood was running out of his mouth. And as I went up to get a breath of air, I could see him hanging from the ceiling. That's when I woke up. That was one of the most vivid dreams I've ever had. It was freaky, and I only told a couple people about it. When Glenn told his dream, it made me think of it. I don't know the symbolism behind it. Maybe the guy in the top hat was Satan. I don't know. That's my dream, and that's all I got. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching my video. Later on, guys.